actually didn't realize those words had been put to music.
I didn't know the words.
Yeah. So that's quite beautiful. Good morning again, as Mary and I have our private conversation.
Yes.
All right, well, happy Memorial Day. I like to take some time on this particular holiday and recall why we have this holiday. For many people, it's become about like the sale that's on, you know, how do I get to the mall? And that's not the original reason for the holiday, nor is it to get to the beach, which is not a bad idea, but and it's not even to have a barbecue, which is another great way that we celebrate it. The real reason it was created was to remember the people that had given their lives for our country, and to recognize and to honor that, that great gift. Because we do believe in religious science, we absolutely believe in immortality, but to come up against that fear and to be willing to test that, to prove that in a very deep way by actually being in combat is a pretty huge gift. And so this opportunity to be respectful of that, to remember, there's a statement in the Bible that there's no greater love than this, that a man would lay down his life for his companions, and that is very much what happens. So this is about that remembering. And it also is an opportunity to remember other people that we are connected to that have crossed over to that other side. And so it gives us a moment to reflect and to remember the great gifts that have been given to us by the people that we have had the opportunity to know in our lifetime. And that would be the thing that I would most want us to remember today at some point, would be to simply recognize and remember how much we gain from our interaction. I loved what Kim said about the reason when you make a prayer request, you allow our practitioners to come together in thought and to remember the truth. And I love that phrase because that's very much what happens when we recall back an idea of a person that has been with us. I heard recently that, and I have no idea what culture this comes from, so I'm sorry, but I heard that there was a spiritual concept that people actually die twice. The first time is when their physical body leaves, and the last time, or the second time, is when their name is no longer called forward on the planet. When somebody, the last time that a person speaks their name, that is the next time that the passing takes place. And I'm not sure that I believe any of that because I believe in immortality, but I do understand the sentiment that is behind that, and respect that sentiment and respect that understanding. So let's talk about immortality, because Ernest Holmes says that it's a principle. And he actually spends much more time talking about the principle of life, because he believes, and I believe with him, and so do people that practice religious science, there's a belief that life is infinite right now, that it's not constricted to a certain place, that you don't have to do something to earn it, that you don't have to pass through a porthole called death to get to it, that in fact life is eternal right in this moment, that there is nothing you can do to destroy it. In other words, you're stuck with it, and you know, that's just it. You know, so this idea that all there is really is life, that we must start to recognize that we live it. And he identifies life with God as a quality of God, and the idea that it is so immense and so present that in our ignorance we have forgotten that life is eternal. That we have forgotten that we deal with the magnificence of the divine at all times. and that God is present in every moment 100%. Holmes says that we are so deeply loved by God that no matter what has happened with us, that we have never been separated from the divine. That we are part of that divine creation, and because we are part of that divine creation, that we actually cannot separate ourselves from God. We can only think that we have. And so it is only in our ignorance that we begin to believe that there is life and death, that there is an opposite to the principle of life and the principle of immortality. So Holmes used this example in the book, this thing called Life, which I've been reading for the last couple of days, and it's a magnificent book. It's so good that I'm going to do a class on it in July, so get ready. But he used this example. He says, now imagine, he says, just remember the fish, where do fish live? They live in water. And he says that, imagine that at some point the fish forget that they live in water, and so they're trying to find out where the water is. And they've heard that the water is the God, that is what grants them life. And that they make up all these different ways of trying to reconnect with that life. So they chant, water, water, water. Be around me, bless me, offer me your blessings. Never realizing that they're already in it. Never realizing that they can move away from it. There's no way. They could not possibly separate themselves from that. And so he says, imagine, they bring out the candles, it's hard to keep them lit. You have to keep up, okay? But they bring out the candles, they do the altar cloths, and I'm not criticizing any of that. I'm just saying that what is real is that this presence of life that is God is as around us as the water is around the fish. And that when we start to understand that connection that we have with life, when we start to focus in on that everything else drops away. And Holmes actually says this is the essential place, because as long as we are thinking that we are somehow or another separate, we're also being driven by outward appearances. So we're always trying to fix something. Ever notice that? There's this little thing that's wrong, there's that, there's this over here, I would be happy if only I had, And so we're always trying to fix something else because we have actually missed the essential essence of who and what we are. And if we would simply get back to an understanding of our connection with all of life, that everything would flow without having to go around saying, well, gee whiz, this week my knee hurts, and last week it was my hip, and next week it'll probably be my elbow. We won't have to be doing that, because we will know that we're life, that we're vibrating with that life. We won't be saying, gee whiz, what's my checkbook balance? If I check my balance, or if I found out where my stocks are, I'll know whether I'm healthy, or whether I can survive another day. We won't be saying, gee whiz, if I only had, perfect connection, or a better relationship, or healed a relationship with somebody. If I knew that I was part of life and therefore interconnected with all people, that every person that was around me is part of this same life, that nobody is left out of it. If I know that, do I need to worry about praying for friends? What's real is I'm surrounded by it. If I start to know that I am fully God-supported in everything that I do, then I have the courage to step forward completely. And so you see this principle of immortality, when you start to get it and you start to understand it, it actually takes away fear and begins to bring us instead to a space where we are operating at a level of love and joy in life without having to tinker with all the details, because we trust God to bring those in. Now, does that mean that I would never do a prayer for a specific thing? Absolutely not. I would do whatever prayer I need to do to remind myself that I am part of that life. But Holmes talks about this from a place of partnership with the divine.